Hare Krishna, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Today we are going to study the last verse of the 4th chapter of Bhagwat Gita as it is. And I am very sure that each one of us have learnt the name of this chapter. It is the transcendental knowledge. The meaning of the transcendental knowledge is the knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In the very beginning of this chapter, Krishna says that he gave the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Vivasvan, the sun god. Then Vivasvan gave the same knowledge to Manu, the father of all the human beings. And Manu gave the same knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Ikshvaku, in whose dynasty Lord Ram appeared. In this chapter, Krishna has said all about himself. That is, his appearance and activities are all divine. And one who tries to understand and believes that Krishna's appearance and his activities are all divine certainly never comes back to this material world after leaving his present body. Janm karm cha me divyam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma na eti mameti so Arjuna. So Krishna very clearly says that one who tries to understand and believes that Krishna's appearance and his activities are all divine will never come back to this material world after leaving his present body. Then Krishna said that he comes in every yuga to give pleasure to his devotees and to liberate them from all kinds of sorrows and to punish the demonic people. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthan adharmasya tadatmanam srijami aham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sanstharpanarthai sambhavami yuge yuge. Further, Krishna in this chapter has taught us about various sacrifices like brahmacharya yagya, grihastha yagya, dravya yagya, gyan yagya, yog yagya, tapo yagya, dhyan yagya, and the main aim behind all kinds of yagya is to develop the sense control and focus on the self-realization. Srila Prabhupada says that the only difference between the other species and human beings is of sense control. Only human beings can make efforts to control the desire of sense gratification and strive for self-realization. That who am I? Who is God? What is my eternal relationship with God? And what is my duty towards the Supreme God? This realization can be never in birds, animals, or trees. So human life is so special and it's a rare opportunity to know one's own self. And the process to know one's own self is described in Bhagavad Gita. And the only qualification which is required to understand Bhagavad Gita is to have complete faith on Krishna. But if one does not have faith in Krishna, and if one doesn't accept Krishna to be the Supreme God, then such a person will never be able to understand Bhagavad Gita, which means he will be always surrounded with doubts, anxieties, and fear. Srila Prabhupada says, to understand Bhagavad Gita, one must have unflinching faith in Krishna, and only then one will read, apply the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. I sometimes feel that if only all of us could understand and know that who Krishna is actually, and why has Krishna given us Bhagavad Gita? Possibly then we will develop faith and love for Krishna. Now let us start today's verse, that is the verse number 42, which is the last verse in the fourth chapter. And in this verse, Krishna is going to give clear instructions to Arjun that what Arjun is supposed to do. And by now, we have come to know that all the instructions which are given to Arjun is actually meant for each one of us. Now first, let us all recite the verse number 42, then we will understand the word meanings, translation and purport of Srila Prabhupada. Tasmad agyan sambhutam Hritstham gyan asinatmanah chitvenam sanchayam yogam atishtha uttishtha bharata tasmat ajnana sambhutam hritstham gyan asinatmanah chitvenam sanchayam yogam atishtha uttishtha bharata tasmat ajnana sambhutam hritstham gyan asinatmanah chitvenam sanshayam yogam atishtha uttishtha bharata tasmat therefore agyan sambhutam outcome of ignorance hritstham situated in the heart gyan knowledge asina by the weapon of atmanah of the self chitva cutting off enam this sanshayam doubt yogam in yoga atishtha be situated uttishtha stand up to fight bharata O descendant of Bharat. Krishna says tasmat agyan sambhutam hritstham gyan asinatmanah. He says, therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance, chitvanam sanshayam, should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Yogam atisht uttisht bharata. Armed with yoga, yogam atisht, armed with yoga. O Bharata, stand and fight. Atisht means situated and uttisht means stand. Why is he asking him to stand? Because Arjun is meant to fight. So Krishna is saying stand and fight. How? By being situated completely in yogam. Yogam means knowing one's own self, the eternal true self, having the knowledge, and then be situated in it, and then stand and fight. Krishna has begun this shloka with the word tasmad, and Srila Prabhupada says, whenever this word tasmad comes, then we should become very alert, because now Krishna is going to conclude all the things which have been previously said by him. In the previous shlok, Krishna clearly said that how to destroy the sanshay, that is the doubts, and one who destroys the sanshay with the help of the sword of knowledge, that person is truly situated in his own true self. And that is how Krishna wants Arjun to perform all his duties, that is to fight. So this is why in the last verse, that is the verse number 42, Krishna is saying tasmad, because in the previous shlokas, Krishna has clearly given Arjun what he has to do. He has clearly explained to Arjun what he is supposed to be doing. So now Krishna says, tasmat agyan sambhutam hritstham gyan asinatmanah. that now that I've told you that how you should be, clearing all the doubts which has been arisen in your heart out of ignorance, those doubts need to be slackened by the sword of knowledge. And having destroyed all kinds of doubts, you be situated in your real self and then stand and fight. Now let us read Srila Prabhupada's purport to understand this very important verse in a nice manner. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnavon ki jai. Srila Prabhupada says that the yoga system that is instructed in this chapter is the Sanatan Yoga, or the eternal activities of the living entities. Living entities means the soul, which is the part of the Supreme Krishna, and the eternal activity of the part is to serve the whole. Like the different body parts should serve stomach. Krishna says, Yogam Atishta Uttishta Bharata, which means that, O Bharata, you should be situated in your real self and then perform your duty, which is to fight. We must understand the word yoga, which Krishna has said here. Yoga means to get connected. So it is very clear that Krishna wants Arjun to be firmly fixed in his real self, that he is spirit soul and not his body. And having this clear knowledge, Arjun should fight. This is the desire of Krishna. Now let us try to understand that why Krishna wants Arjun to be firmly fixed in his real self. It is because that if we don't know who we are, who is God, and why are we here in this temporary place where everything is temporary, and why are we working so hard to get permanent happiness here? Until we have these answers clearly, these doubts create illusion in the mind. And a person who is illusioned, how can he do good to himself or to others? This is why Krishna is wanting Arjun to be fixed in his true self, that he is spirit soul and everyone in the battlefield are also spirit souls. And spirit soul is a part of Krishna and it is indestructible because energy can be never destroyed. Now, one thing is clear to us, that what does yoga mean? Now, Srila Prabhupada elaborates this yoga has two divisions. That is, to attain this yoga, there are two paths. The first path is by sacrificing one's material possessions, and the other path is called the knowledge of the self, which is a pure spiritual activity. In this material world, we all have the experience that no one gets anything without sacrifice. A student has to sacrifice his enjoyments to score well in exams. Parents sacrifice their comforts to fulfill the requirements of their children. So the concept of sacrifice is not new for us. And we all know that without sacrificing, nothing can be achieved in this temporary material world. Now let me explain it, that why am I saying that this is a temporary material world? I'm saying it's a temporary material world because whatever is achieved here does not stay with anyone permanently. And for something that doesn't stay permanently, still one has to sacrifice so much. Now let us understand it with this example. If one wants to become Miss India or Miss Universe, one has to sacrifice so many things. One has to be on a strict diet and has to undergo a detailed training process of how to talk, how to walk, how to smile, how to carry different dresses, and after taking so much of hard training, the crown is only for an year. Similarly, anything and everything is ever changing and nothing is permanent in this impermanent material world. A rich man and a poor man both have to die. A rich man cannot escape old age, disease, and death with the power of his money. Now, I am very sure that we have properly understood that each one of us are sacrificing something or the other. The sacrifice which is being explained by Srila Prabhupada is this, that the sacrifice of material possessions is a prescribed method in our Vedic scriptures to acquire the material comforts and possessions. But if it is only to acquire the material things, then it is merely a material activity or karma kand, because the main purpose of every instruction given in the Vedas is to take the person to the spiritual platform of self-realization. Now, all of a sudden, people cannot take the pure process of self-realization, which is why this provision of Dravya Yajna is prescribed in the scriptures to help the person for a gradual progress. Now, let us understand the true aspects of every activity in this material world with the help of this analogy of taking care of cows. Normally, we see people feeding cows and taking the tail of the cow on their head and touching the feet of the cow. But do we know the reason behind it? Usually, people feed and worship cow because it is believed that all the Devi Devatas reside in the body of the cow. And if one worships cow, then all the Devi Devatas will be happy, and in return, they will give material health, wealth, and prosperity. So, when people take care and worship cows with this thinking, then it is called a material activity. But if someone looks after the cows and feeds the cows with this thought that Krishna loves the cows the most, and Krishna will become very happy if I look after his cows, then the same activity becomes a spiritual activity. Let us take another example, like opening schools, hospitals, orphanages, and old age homes are very good work undoubtedly. But if one does it to acquire pious deeds so that he may live happily with health, wealth, and prosperity, then it is only a material activity. But if the same is done with the understanding that every living entity is Krishna's child, and let me help someone as much as possible, and Krishna will become happy, so the same work becomes spiritual. Now I am sure that we have properly understood that how everything can be easily dovetailed into Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada says that like every sacrifice has two aspects, that is the material and the spiritual. The same way, the spiritual knowledge also has two levels. The first is to understand who am I? Why am I here? What is my duty in this material world? And the next level is to understand who is God, what is His feelings, Why has He created this material world? And what does He expect from me? Srila Prabhupada says that any person who starts studying Bhagavad Gita having complete faith in Krishna immediately understands both the levels of self realization. The only thing one has to do is to surrender to a bona fide spiritual guru and follow all the instructions. Bona fide spiritual guru means the guru who is giving the same transcendental knowledge which was given by Krishna to Vivaswan, the sun god, as it is to us. And if one is fortunate to surrender and study Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of such a spiritual master, then one can easily understand that who is he, who is God, and what is his relationship with God. And further, what is his duty towards God and the entire creation of God. And having all these answers means to have the clarity of one's own life. And this is the transcendental knowledge which Krishna wants all of us to have. Srila Prabhupada says that it is not difficult at all. We just need to have faith in Krishna and his words and learn the spiritual science under the guidance of a spiritual master who comes in the recognized disciplic succession of Guru Shishya Parampara. Srila Prabhupada says that we are all pure spirit souls and we were all with Krishna in the spiritual world in our spiritual body. But we misused our fragmental independence, which means that we desired to enjoy independently, staying away from Krishna. So Krishna fulfilled our wish and has sent us in this temporary material world. But Krishna is so loving and merciful that to bring us back to him, he personally came to give us Bhagavad Gita, which is the complete manual of life. And this manual can be read and understood only by the human beings. And we are so fortunate that Krishna sent us Srila Prabhupada to explain Bhagavad Gita to each one of us as it was spoken by Krishna himself. This is why Srila Prabhupada is known as Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada very kindly is warning us not to make a spiritual master who is not in the bona fide Guru Shishya Parampara. In the previous verses, we have clearly understood in great details about the four recognized paramparas, that is, the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya, which begins with Brahmaji, then the Rudra Parampara, which begins with Shivji, then Sri Sampradaya, which begins with Goddess Lakshmi, and the last is Kumar Sampradaya, which is beginning with the four sons of Lord Brahma. We can surrender to a guru coming in these four paramparas and easily attain the highest goal, which is God realization or to become Krishna conscious. This is the main sum and substance of the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Krishna clearly instructs Arjuna to destroy all kinds of doubts that he has in his heart with the sword of transcendental knowledge and be firmly fixed in his true identity that he is spirit soul and then perform his duty as a Kshatriya, that is to fight. Similarly, this instruction which Krishna has given to Arjuna to be firmly fixed in real self and do your duty of fighting is actually for each one of us. We need to properly understand that we are spirit soul and a part of Krishna and our permanent identity is eternal servant of Krishna, Nitya Krishna Das. And having this knowledge that we are the servant of Krishna and not the enjoyer of Krishna's creation, and with this clear knowledge, if we serve every person and each living being, then truly we can become Krishna conscious and be liberated from this endless cycle of birth and death and be permanently with Krishna in Golok Vrindavan Dham. This is the planning of Krishna for each one of us. So let us help Krishna by reading and understanding Bhagavad Gita. This way, Krishna will be very happy, and we, being originally his part, we will also become eternally happy. I thank each one of you for being with me in this journey of understanding Bhagavad Gita. And I bow down to Srila Prabhupada and my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Harimohan Das Prabhuji, because without their causeless mercy, we could not have understood the spiritual science of Bhagavad Gita in such an easy manner. Please do write your comments that what have you understood from the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Now we are about to begin the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is going to be very interesting, exciting and enlightening. Till then, keep chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and be happy. And please do share this video with others, as this is the highest form of showing compassion towards each everyone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.